news for the world.
Opposition leaders hold talks with the Mubarak government, but with protesters refusing to leave Tahrir Square, have Mubarak's concessions done anything to accelerate a change and bring about the orderly transition of power Western governments talk about?
Egyptian people want freedom.
Egypt's dilemma, an Al Jazeera news special.
You're on the news hour here on Al Jazeera. These are a reminder of the main developments in Egypt. In the last hour, Vice President Omar Suleiman has appeared on Egyptian state television. He announced the president is setting up a committee to amend the constitution and stressed demonstrators will not be prosecuted. Also, those demonstrators in Cairo's Tahrir Square, Liberation Square, are calling for more mass rallies on Tuesday, trying to keep up the pressure on President Mubarak to step down despite the government's offer to a large pay rise to 6 million public sector workers. And an activist whose Facebook page inspired Egypt's uprising has been freed by authorities in Cairo. He is Wael Ghanem, detained for 12 days, arrested during an anti-government rally back on January the 28th. Let's go live to Cairo now. On the phone, one of our team on the ground there who we're not naming for security reasons. Talk me through what you're seeing at the moment. Where are you?
I'm right inside Tahrir Square by the main circle, and it's absolutely packed. They just finished praying, so people are now moving around the square, and I can tell you it's extremely difficult even to move around. It's hard to see how more people will fit into the square. It's still very early. So coming in from the Nil Bridge, one of the main entrances into the square, there were thousands of people lining up, waiting for their IDs to be checked and waiting to come in. Now, most of the people that I'm seeing that are newcomers, if you like, are the young people, and that's definitely something I've noticed in the last half an hour or so that I've been here. And the young people that I've spoken to say that they're here really for two reasons. One, because they know how important it is to keep the momentum going in these protests and to keep the number of young people in the square up. And secondly, because they do feel very much inspired by Wael Ghanem, the Google executive and activist that you were just mentioning there, who gave very emotional interview on Monday night on Egyptian television. They feel like his words really were very genuine, and that his call that people should continue with this until the very end. People should continue to come and protest was something that every Egyptian should bring amongst themselves, a responsibility that they should come and be here, and that is what they're doing.
You know, just looking at our live picture now, it without stating the obvious, it looks different. It has a different feel to it, the tents, the sort of setup, the sit-in, if you like. Does it feel different? Is the mood different down there now?
It was always very organized, but you feel like right now they really have got the organization structure, if you like, very well placed. So you have in the middle the tents where people are sleeping. You have on all the entrances a very streamlined system of bringing people in. Everyone gets to buy a flag or a hat. People are wearing red, white, and black. There's a lot more of a feel to it. This isn't something that people are just coming to. This is something that people have spoken about, that have organized themselves, and really the festive feeling is back here, and the young people are back here. So yeah, there is definitely a different feeling in the last few days. But just the numbers, the fact that there are so many people here, just packed right into the square, has really given a boost. In the last few days that we've been here, the numbers have still been very high, but nothing like we're seeing today. And I think it was very important for the young people especially to show their presence here.
That's one of our team on the ground there. Right in the middle of that shot, you see Tahrir Square, which has turned into almost a sit-in now, a huge number of people in there continuing their demonstrations against President Mubarak. And as countries like Tunisia and Egypt ask themselves, well, what's next? One country in the region has fashioned itself as something of a role model for successful democracy. The reason? Well, Turkey appears so far to have successfully married its secular institutions with a majority Muslim society. More on that from Anita McNaught in Istanbul.
When the euphoria of regime toppling wears off, then practical questions emerge. What's a new government going to look like? Across the Middle East, the answer increasingly is something like Turkey. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was the enlightened dictator all the strongmen of the Middle East have tried to emulate. None have pulled it off. 73 years after his death, he's still revered by many Turks. And it's the secular system he laid the groundwork for, balancing democracy, Islam, modernity and progress, that's now being looked at with fresh eyes in the Middle East.
The Arab intelligentsia 10 years ago would poo-poo Turkey because, we have sold our soul to the West and we have lost our backbone under Kemalism and all this, are now rapidly revising their views about all this and coming around to asking questions like, well, Turkey is 99% Muslim, how come it can do this, you see? And we can't. A study just released by Turkish think tank TESEV of public opinion in 7 Arab countries and Iran shows 2/3 of people surveyed think Turkey can be a role model for the Middle East.
Some of it is stemming from what we are doing, and in terms of economy, in terms of politics, and in terms of cultural engagement with the region.
Turkey's rising living standards have put neighbouring governments to shame. Average income in Turkey has tripled under the ruling AKP, according to IMF data. In Egypt, by comparison, average incomes have risen only $5 in 2 decades. And Turkey's new warm relations with old foes like Syria and joint ventures like this dam on the Turkey-Syria border inaugurated on Sunday enable Turkey to project soft power diplomatically, while Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan's harder line with Israel has made him a hero on the Arab street. But the clincher for Turkey has been a marriage of Islam and democracy that, contrary to Western fears, so far has improved human rights. The TESEV study showed Turkey the most liked and respected country of the 8 surveyed. But many of Turkey's citizens would say their country still has a long way to go to live up to its top billing. Anita McNaught, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.
Lots to talk about Egypt related. Dr. Ibrahim Shakhi is with us here from the Brookings Centre in Doha. Nice to have you with us. Let's talk about Turkey, seeing as we just saw that report there. Okay. This idea that Turkey is a model for the region. Certainly, economically speaking, you can't argue with that. It's had good growth and its people are well served. Yes. Should Egypt and the likes of other countries be looking at Turkey?
Turkey is definitely a good model for not only for Egypt, but for the entire Middle East and North Africa, of course. I think there is still a long way to go for Egypt to be talking about a Turkish model now, because Egypt has its own circumstances, it has its own oppositions, it has its own political life. It's still early to talk about Turkey as a model. It's definitely an inspiring model for people in Egypt and in the region to look at.
Egypt's almost got to rebuild itself now, doesn't it? Its systems. We're talking, there's talk from Vice President Suleiman today about constitutional reform and steering committees, but this is going to be a long process. Isn't it?
I think Turkey is a very ambitious thing to look at, but again, it serves as a good model because Turkey, let's keep in mind that it went through secularism, the Turkism from 1924, and until it took them about a century. Egypt now is in a transition. And it's a transition from dictatorship to a new model that we're going to see that probably the way I see it, it is certainly going to be different from Turkey. It's not going to be the same as the Turkish model because it will be a long way to go. It's definitely not going to be Taliban and Afghanistan because there is a lot of fear that Muslim Brotherhood will dominate the political. That's not going to happen either. So we are talking about a new model emerging in Egypt that is something not exactly like Turkey, but something is different, and which is great because this is a transition that is it's natural, it's genuine, it's initiated by the people, and it's taking the conditions of Egypt into consideration. So there is which is the whole idea of the uprising is not importing ready models from the outside, although Turkey is a Muslim country, but it's still, again, the whole idea of the revolution is really about developing something from within, but not importing models like the Turkish or the other models.
Okay, let's look more acutely at what's happening in Egypt right now. Maybe we can get a live shot of Tahrir Square to have a look at. What do you think when you see these pictures at the moment?
Yes.
I've been saying to our correspondents that it's changed. It's a different feeling. One of our correspondents said it's into the second phase now.
Yes.
This is the long haul.
Yes.
Have they lost their momentum from that sharp, acute uprising which could have toppled a government? Do you think they've lost that momentum?
They have not yet, but if they don't, and they are now seriously challenged to come up with new strategies. And if they don't come up with new strategies, you know, to how to manage the uprising, there is a fear that they will lose momentum. So far, we have